Guys, so today we're going to talk about double area model, and this is my attempt at a document camera, so we're going to see how this works, and if it goes well, maybe you'll see more of these videos with my little yellow pad of paper. Okay, so we've got this problem. This is something that Freckle came up with when I did a Freckle assignment. So we've got multiply 61 and 11. Now, we could do this with the algorithm, no problem. But if we're doing math problems in our heads, if we're starting to do more mental math, if we want to do that number sense part, we need to be able to break numbers apart. And so that's what the area model teaches us. It teaches us how to break numbers apart to make them easier for our brain to handle. You could do this problem in your head if you have the idea of an area model. So we're going to take a look at it today. And I want to show you, this is the way that Freckles set it up for me when I set up my assignment. So what they did was they took 61 and 11, and they took the 61 and put it on the top line of the rectangle. We've got one big gigantic rectangle here, right? So they took the 61 and they separated it out into two parts. They took the tens place, the 6, and since it's 6 tens, they wrote it as 60. It gets the big long piece because 60 is the tens piece, right? So 6 tens equals 60. It's got that big long piece of the rectangle. Then they took the ones place, and the 1 here is worth 1. And so it's written as 1. 60 plus 1 equals 61. That makes sense, right? And we've got this big piece and this little piece together equals 61 all the way across, okay? Now, they took the 11, which is our second factor, right? The 11, and they split it up into 10 plus 1. 10 plus 1 equals 11. The 1 from the tens place equals 10 because 1 10 is 10, and 1 1 is 1. So the larger piece goes to the tens place, and the smaller piece goes to the 1. Now, here is the part where we get to do some multiplying. I'm going to switch pen colors here so you can see a little bit more clearly. So take a look. What we're going to do is we're going to look at just this piece of the larger rectangle. We're going to look at just each little piece of the rectangle one by one, and then we'll add them all up at the end to get the total of the whole rectangle. Okay, so area model relies on us knowing some multiplication. If you don't, you know that it's okay to be using a calculator or Google. That's fine. I'm not so worried about you multiplication facts right now. I am worried that you understand the idea behind multiplication and behind double-digit multiplication, okay? So let's look at that today. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this big piece right here, which equals 60, and we're going to multiply it by the side of this, which is 10. So now we've got 60 times 10 equals, and again, you could go look it up, or you might remember when we multiply anything by 10, it means that we get to add a 0, right? These numbers all move over, a 0 comes at the end, and so 60 times 10 equals 600, okay? I'm going to put a little squiggly line under that so I remember that that's the number I want to pay most attention to once I get to the end of this, okay? I'm going to look at my next rectangle now. I've got this piece down here that equals 10, right? This piece is the same as this piece, so it equals 10. And I've got this top piece of my rectangle, which equals 1. So I'm going to multiply those together. Okay, so again, I'm looking at this rectangle right here. 10 times 1. 10 from the side, right? And 1 from the top. So 10 times 1 equals 10. I love this problem. Okay, and I'm going to put a squiggly line under that one so I remember that's the total for this section. Okay. Now, I'm going to go bit by bit here, so bear with me. We're going to do this section right here, and I'm going to trace each one as I go just so I can remember. So I know this line right here, the length of this rectangle is the same as the length of this rectangle, which is 60. So we've got 60 times 1. This length right here is 1. 60 times 1 is 60. One group of 60 is 60. Nice job. And now we've got our last piece. Okay, so the most important part about this double area model is that you do have to go through all 4 parts. Sometimes people forget and they only do a sum of them, and then they're missing pieces. We got to make sure that we've gotten all 4 parts, right? So this last one I'm going to trace again, and we got this height right here, this length right here is 1. And then I look at this piece right here, which is the same as the top, which equals 1. And 1 times 1 equals, you got it, 1. Now, some people stop right here, but we have to go back to our problem. Our problem says to multiply 61 and 11. So we've got this multiplication problem of 61 times 11, and we need to know, what does it equal? Well, we haven't solved that problem yet. We've solved all these little problems, but we need to figure out what is 61 times 11. And so in order to do that, we have to add them all together. So I'm going to take my space over here in the corner because I have enough space in this column. And I'm going to take each of these totals and add them together. It's important that they are all lined up, so I'm going to do it carefully. 600, here we go, plus 10, plus 60, plus 1. And notice all of my ones digits and tens digits and hundreds are all lined up. I'll put my plus sign so that my teacher knows what I'm doing. And then let's add 0, 0, 0, 1 equals 1. 0 plus 1 plus 6 equals 7. And 6, nothing else in that hundreds column, equals 671. I'm going to put my big box around there. I'll put my answer one more time down here. And I've solved the problem using the double area model. Okay, you'll notice that these numbers right here are pretty easy to do in your head if you've got a good understanding of place value. This might be something that you want to do in your head, and you could, because you can separate out those numbers. So the more you practice this, the easier multiplication is going to get for you, because you'll start to see those patterns of how to separate numbers into pieces. It makes it much easier to do multiplication in your head. Okay, there you go. Hope that helped.